The room is quiet enough to hear the hum in the walls, but my mind is louder, pounding against itself like it's trying to escape. I sit on the edge of my bed, holding my phone so tight, my fingers ache. It buzzes once. Maya again. I can't bring myself to answer. Not when my chest feels like it's packed with wet cement. I tell myself to breathe, to stand up, to act normal, to be the version of me everyone expects. But the weight doesn't move. I stare at the floor and wonder when trying so hard became the same thing as falling apart. My heartbeat feels uneven, shaky, like it's forgetting how to stay steady. I let the phone buzz one more time, then let it die in my hand. I whisper, "I'm fine," even though I don't sound like someone who believes it. And somewhere in the quiet, a question starts rising, heavy and sharp. Would you fight if the enemy lived inside you? I drag myself into the kitchen, telling my body to move even though it feels like I'm wading through wet sand. The clock on the wall ticks too loudly, each second hitting harder than it should. I pretend everything is normal. Open the fridge. Stare at food I don't want. Close it again. My thoughts race ahead of me, already listing the tasks I haven't done, the mistakes I might make, the ways today could fall apart. My mother's voice echoes faintly in my memory. "Just stay focused, Liam. Don't slip." I wish she knew how much slipping I already do when no one's watching. The quiet feels heavy, like the whole room is waiting for me to fail at something simple again. My phone vibrates on the counter. Another message from Maya. But I can't bring myself to look. I rest my hands on the cold surface and breathe through the pressure building in my chest, hoping today won't crush me the way yesterday did. I sit at my desk, staring at the blank screen, waiting for motivation to hit me like it used to. But all I feel is a dull pressure behind my eyes, like my mind is a rubber band stretched too tight. The cursor blinks, steady and patient, mocking my stillness. My assignments pile up in the corner of my vision, each one demanding perfection I'm too tired to give. I rub my face with both hands, trying to shake the fog out of my head. I tell myself I have to keep going, that stopping isn't an option, that falling behind is dangerous. That's what perfection does. It turns every small task into a battlefield I'm always losing. The room grows quieter, the air heavier, as if even the walls expect more from me than I can offer. I whisper a promise to myself, just finish one thing. But even that feels bigger than I want to admit. By evening, the weight in my chest settles deeper, spreading through my ribs like a slow burn. I sit on the floor of my room, knees pulled close, trying to steady my breathing. The world outside my window moves on. Cars passing, people laughing, doors opening and closing. But inside, everything feels paused. It's strange how you can be surrounded by life and still feel completely alone. I think about texting Maya back. I even pick up my phone once, but the words don't come. I don't know how to explain a kind of pain that doesn't look like pain. Perfection isn't loud. It doesn't scream or cry. It just tightens its grip quietly until you become someone who hides from the people who care. I press my forehead to my knees and wish, just for a moment, that someone could see me without me having to say a word. Night settles in fully, wrapping the room in a kind of silence that feels too honest. I lie back on my bed, staring at the ceiling, letting the darkness blur the edges of everything. The day felt like walking uphill with no strength in my legs, yet part of me still thinks I should have done more, that I should have been stronger, faster, better. It's exhausting how perfection keeps moving the finish line no matter how far I run. I lift an arm and cover my eyes, feeling the ache in my chest pulse like a second heartbeat. I wonder if anyone would notice if I disappeared into this silence for a while. Maybe Maya would. Maybe she already knows something's wrong. But I'm not ready to open that door yet. Tonight, I just let the quiet settle over me, hoping tomorrow will be lighter, even though I'm not sure I believe it. Morning hits harder than I expect. I wake up already behind, already overwhelmed, already drowning in the pressure of everything I told myself I'd finish last night. My alarm rings again, even though I turned it off, an echo in my head reminding me how much I'm slipping. I sit up slowly, rubbing my eyes, feeling the familiar rush of thoughts, lining up like they're waiting to attack. The day hasn't started, but I already feel late. I force myself out of bed, telling myself I don't have time to feel like this. Perfection doesn't care if I'm tired or scared or empty. It only cares that I keep moving. I glance at my reflection in the mirror and barely recognize the person looking back. Eyes dull, shoulders slumped, spirit worn thin. I whisper, just keep going, because stopping feels like failure. And failure feels like falling through a floor that has no bottom. I rush through my morning routine like a machine, barely aware of my own movements. Brush teeth, wash face, grab backpack, leave. Everything feels automatic, like I'm following a script I didn't write, but have to perform perfectly. Outside, the cold air stings my skin, snapping me awake just enough to feel the anxiety crawling up my spine. My chest tightens with every step, thinking about the tasks waiting for me. The world around me moves so fast. Cars passing, people laughing, someone talking on the phone. And yet I feel slow, like I'm stuck behind invisible glass. When I reach the bus stop, Maya's name flashes on my phone again. I don't open the message. I can't. Not when I'm barely holding myself together. I shove the phone into my pocket and stare at the ground, wishing I could disappear into the cracks in the pavement, even for a minute. The moment I sit down at my desk, the familiar wave of pressure hits. Assignments, deadlines, expectations, all of it pressing against my skull until my thoughts blur. I open my laptop and try to work, but my mind races faster than my fingers can keep up. Every sentence I type feels wrong. Every idea feels useless. My breathing grows shallow, and I clench my jaw until it starts to ache. I tell myself to focus, but the harder I try, the more everything slips away. Around me, people talk, type, laugh, living normal lives I can't seem to reach. I grip the edge of the desk, holding on like it's the only solid thing left. The room feels too bright, too loud, too sharp. I rub my temples and blink hard, hoping the panic will fade, but it only tightens, curling into a knot deep inside my chest. Hours pass, but nothing gets easier. I pretend to work, pretending everything is fine, pretending my mind isn't tearing itself apart. Maya approaches, her footsteps soft, her voice gentle when she says my name. I force a smile, the kind that feels glued on. She asks if I'm okay. I tell her I'm just tired. It's the easiest lie I know. I can see she doesn't believe me. Her eyes linger on my shaking hands, the stiffness in my shoulders, but she doesn't push. That almost hurts more. I want to tell her everything, to admit how close I feel to breaking, but the words stay trapped somewhere deep inside. Perfection doesn't allow weakness, not even with friends. When she places a warm hand on my arm before leaving, something inside me stings. I wish she'd ask again. I wish I didn't need her to. By the time I leave the building, the sun has already dipped low, leaving the sky streaked with orange that feels too warm for the kind of cold sitting inside me. I walk slowly, breathing in the evening air, but it doesn't clear my head. My chest still feels tight, my thoughts still tangled. I replay the day in my mind, every mistake, every moment I froze, every time I pretended I was okay. The pressure doesn't fade with the sunset. It follows me like a shadow. My phone buzzes again. Another message from Maya. I stop walking, staring at the glowing screen. Part of me wants to open it to let her in, but another part whispers that she wouldn't understand. I slip the phone back into my pocket and continue toward home, each step feeling heavier. I tell myself tomorrow will be better, but even I can hear the lie in my voice. Horse, hour. Free. examining down to do it in rest. The next morning hits like a punch to the chest. I wake with my heart already racing, as if I'd been running in my sleep. The moment my eyes open, the world feels too loud, too sharp, too demanding. My mind starts listing everything I didn't finish yesterday, everything I messed up, everything waiting for me today. I tried to breathe through it, but the panic has its own rhythm. Fast, pounding, impossible to quiet. I sit up slowly, pressing my palms to my forehead, trying to steady myself before the whole day collapses around me. I whisper that I'm okay, even though the words feel flimsy and untrue. I shouldn't feel like this. I should be able to handle things. Everyone else seems to. My thoughts spiral faster, and suddenly it feels like the walls are leaning in, like there's not enough air. I grab my phone, desperate for something to anchor me, but even the screen feels overwhelming. I walk into class late, breathing too fast, my hands still trembling. Everyone turns to look at me, or at least it feels like they do. My mind exaggerates every glance, every whisper, every shift of someone's chair. I hurry to my seat, pretending I'm invisible even while feeling painfully exposed. When I open my laptop, the screen seems too bright, the room too loud, my heartbeat too strong. The professor starts talking, words blending together like they're underwater. I try to take notes, but my fingers shake over the keys. My chest tightens again, sharper this time, and I swallow hard, hoping no one notices. I tell myself to stay calm, to stay focused, but all I can hear is the pounding in my skull. I can feel the breakdown creeping closer, a slow wave climbing up my spine. I grip the edge of my desk, hoping it will hold me together. Halfway through the lecture, something snaps. It's small, one sentence I can't follow, one concept I can't process, but it feels like the final thread pulling loose. My breath stutters. The words on the slide blur. The noise in the room swells until it's all I can hear. I feel heat rushing up my neck, my pulse slamming against my ribs. I know I'm losing control. I shut my laptop too quickly, the sound echoing louder than it should. A few people glance over. I look down, pretending I'm fine, but my hands won't stop shaking. My chest feels too tight, my vision shrinking at the edges. I can't stay here. I stand up slowly, trying not to draw attention, but I can feel eyes on me anyway. I walk out of the classroom as calmly as I can, but inside I'm breaking, piece by piece. I make it to the hallway before the panic fully hits. My breath comes in short, broken gasps, and I press my back against the wall, trying to steady myself. The corridor feels endless, stretching out on both sides, empty and echoing. I slide down to the floor, pulling my knees close as I fight for air. My hands shake uncontrollably. I keep whispering, "Not here, not now," but my body doesn't listen. The pressure that's been building all week, maybe all year, finally bursts open. Everything feels too loud even in the silence. My heartbeat slams in my ears. Tears sting at the corners of my eyes, but I blink them back, desperate to hold on to whatever control I have left. I wrap my arms around myself and wait for the wave to pass, hoping no one walks by, hoping no one sees me like this, hoping I'm not completely breaking apart. When the panic finally eases, it leaves behind an emptiness that feels almost worse. I sit there for a few minutes, breathing slowly, waiting for my body to remember how to feel normal. But normal doesn't come. Instead, I'm left with a sinking shame, the kind that settles deep and refuses to move. I pull myself up from the floor, legs weak, and start walking toward the exit. The building feels colder now, like it knows I broke inside it. Outside, the air hits me hard, but it's a relief compared to the suffocating hallway. I stand on the steps, staring at nothing in particular, trying to piece myself back together. My phone buzzes again. Maya. I don't open it. Not yet. I don't want her to see this version of me, the one falling apart. I shove my hands into my pockets and keep walking, hoping the world won't collapse again before I make it home. The next morning feels heavier than any before. I wake up with my muscles stiff and my mind foggy, like I've been holding my breath through the entire night. Every part of me wants to stay in bed, to disappear under the blankets and pretend the world doesn't exist. But responsibility pulls at me like a chain. I sit up, slowly, carefully, as if any sudden movement might break something inside me. My thoughts wander back to yesterday. The panic, the shaking, the way my chest tightened like I was sinking underwater. I tell myself I'm okay, but the lie feels thin. I go through the motions of getting ready, each step slower than it should be. Brush teeth, change clothes, avoid my reflection. When I finally pick up my backpack, it feels heavier than it should, as if it's carrying everything I'm trying to hide. I breathe out, steadying myself for another day that already feels impossible. I move through the day like I'm watching myself from a distance. Everything feels slightly delayed, like my brain and body are out of sync. In class, the words blend together until they're nothing but background noise. I try to write, but my hand moves slower than my thoughts, and every sentence feels like a reminder of how behind I am. When the professor asks a question, my chest tightens, afraid he'll call on me. He doesn't. But the fear still sits there, pressing hard. My mind drifts to the panic attack in the hallway, replaying in flashes I can't stop. I wonder what would have happened if someone walked by, if Maya did. The thought makes my stomach twist. I don't want to be seen like that. I don't want anyone to witness how deeply I'm falling apart, so I keep my eyes down, hoping no one notices the cracks spreading beneath the surface. By the afternoon, my thoughts feel heavy, sinking deeper into places I don't want to explore. I sit alone outside, hoping the fresh air will help, but it only makes me realize how tired I really am. Everything lately feels like walking uphill in mud. I pull out my phone and see another message from Maya. She's checking in again. I stare at the screen for what feels like minutes. I want to answer. I want to tell her everything, but the words don't come. Instead, I type, "I'm fine," and hover over send, my thumb trembling slightly. I delete it. Type it again. Delete it again. I hate how hard it is to be honest. I hate how much easier it feels to pretend. I lock my phone without responding and lean back against the bench, eyes closed, trying to breathe through the numbness settling in. The world keeps moving. I keep sinking. I make it home before sunset, but it still feels like the day never really started for me. I drop my backpack by the door and sink onto the couch, staring at nothing. My thoughts feel slow, like they're wrapped in heavy cloth. I don't even have the energy to turn on the lights. The room grows darker by the minute, and I let it. Darkness feels easier than trying to fix anything. I hear a soft knock on my door, and my chest tightens instantly. I don't move. Another knock. Gentle, cautious. It's Maya. Her voice slips through the wood, soft and worried, calling my name. I stay silent, frozen. I'm not ready to be seen like this. I'm not ready to be seen like this. After a moment, her footsteps fade. The silence returns, heavier than before. I sink deeper into the couch, swallowing the ache rising in my throat. Hours pass, but I barely move. I sit in the dark, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the soft creaks in the walls, the distant sounds of people living normal lives outside. It all feels far away, like I'm watching from underwater. My phone lights up on the couch beside me, breaking the darkness for a moment. Maya again. A simple message. "I'm here if you need me." I stare at it until the screen goes dark. Part of me wants to cry. Part of me wants to throw the phone across the room. Mostly I just feel tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of breaking. Tired of carrying everything alone. I lean back, closing my eyes, letting the darkness settle around me like a blanket. I don't know how much longer I can keep holding myself together, but for now, I just breathe and hope tomorrow won't hit as hard as today. Morning arrives quietly, but something feels different. Like the weight in my chest has settled into something sharper, harder to ignore. I move slowly, every breath dragging against the tightness inside me. Last night's silence lingers heavier than usual. Maya's message sits in my mind, echoing louder than I want it to. I know she's worried. I know I've pushed her away. But pretending I'm fine is getting harder, and the cracks I've been hiding feel wider today. I walk into campus with my hood up, hoping the world won't notice me, but everything feels too bright, too loud, too fast. My thoughts spiral as I sit alone outside a classroom, knees bouncing, hands cold. Part of me wants to reach out, to let someone see how close I am to breaking, but the other part, the part shaped by years of perfection, keeps whispering to stay silent. That silence is starting to feel dangerous. I don't hear her at first. I'm too lost in my thoughts, fighting the same storm that's been tightening around me for weeks. But then, Lilium, her voice is soft, careful, the kind you use when approaching someone already hurting. I look up and see Maya standing there, worry written all over her face. I try to smile, but it feels like a lie sliding across my skin. She sits beside me without asking, her presence warm enough to make something inside me tremble. She tells me she's been trying to reach me. I say, I've been busy. She stares at me like she can see right through the excuse. There's a long pause where neither of us speaks, and the silence between us feels thick with everything I've been avoiding. My chest tightens. My throat burns. I want to open up. I really do. But the words catch somewhere deep, stuck behind fear and shame. She doesn't push. She doesn't force the conversation. She just asks one question. Simple, gentle, impossible to hide from. Lilium, what's going on? Something inside me cracks. The pressure I've been swallowing rises all at once, sharp and unbearable. I try to answer, but my voice dies in my throat. My eyes burn, and I look away, ashamed of how fast the tears gather. Maya shifts closer, not touching me, but close enough to steady me. The silence between us grows heavier, but it's different this time. Less lonely, more like an opening. I feel my breathing stutter. My chest trembles. I whisper, I'm not okay. Barely audible, barely a voice at all. Saying it feels like ripping a bandage off a wound I've been pretending didn't exist. Maya lets out a breath I didn't know she was holding. Her eyes soften. For the first time in a long time, I don't feel completely alone. Once the first words break free, more follow. Uneven, shaky, tangled. I tell her about the pressure, the panic attacks, the nights spent drowning in silence. I tell her how hard it is to breathe sometimes, how impossible it feels to keep pretending I'm holding it together. My voice cracks, and I hate how weak it sounds. But Maya doesn't look away. She listens like every word matters. She asks why I didn't tell her sooner, but the answer feels too familiar. I didn't want to be a burden. She shakes her head gently, like she's heard that excuse too many times. Her eyes shine, not with pity, but with something warmer, steadier. For the first time, it feels like someone is standing inside the darkness with me, instead of watching from far away. The weight doesn't disappear, but it shifts, just enough for me to breathe a little deeper. Maya finally reaches out, placing a hand on my shoulder. Gentle, steady, grounding. The moment she does, something inside me breaks open completely. I don't try to hide it anymore. The tears come fast, stronger than I expect, and I let them. I let myself feel everything I've been burying for months. Maya pulls me into a hug, holding on like she's afraid I'll disappear if she lets go. I sink into her arms, shaking, breathing unevenly. But for the first time, the release feels real. Safe, she whispers. You're not a burden. You never were. The words hit me harder than I want to admit. I close my eyes, letting the warmth of her hold soften the ache inside my ribs. For the first time, in what feels like forever. I'm not pretending. I'm not performing. I'm just here, breaking, but not alone. The days after my breakdown move slowly, like I'm learning how to breathe again. Maya checks in every morning, gentle but steady, giving me space while still reminding me I'm not alone. For the first time in months, I let myself consider the idea of help, not as a weakness, but as a chance to stop drowning. The thought scares me, but the fear of staying the same scares me more. Making the call to a therapist takes everything in me. My voice shakes when I speak, but the woman on the other end sounds calm, patient, like she's heard this kind of fear 1,000 times. She gives me an appointment. I write it down with trembling hands. After hanging up, I sit in silence, breathing slowly, realizing this is the first choice I've made for myself in a long time. It feels unfamiliar, but it also feels like a small kind of hope. The walk to my first therapy session feels longer than it should. Every step is filled with doubt. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I don't know how to talk about myself? What if I break again? But I keep moving, letting the quiet morning guide me. The office is small, warm, nothing like the cold, clinical spaces I imagined. A soft lamp glows in the corner, and the air smells like lavender. When the therapist, Dr. Hale, steps into the room, she smiles in a way that feels honest, not forced. We sit. She asks simple questions. I answer slowly, stumbling through my thoughts. She doesn't rush me. She listens the way Maya did. Steady, patient, present. By the time the session ends, something inside me feels lighter, not healed, but loosened. It's strange how being heard can make you feel a little more human. The next sessions dig deeper, and it's harder than I expected. Talking about perfection feels like peeling layers off a wound I've hidden for years. Hale asks about my childhood, about expectations, about the invisible rules I built around myself. I answer slowly, sometimes shaking, sometimes going silent. But she doesn't let the silence feel empty. She waits until I'm ready, guiding me through pieces of myself I've never looked at closely. I tell her how I measure my worth through achievement, how failure feels like danger, how being imperfect feels like losing control. She nods gently, naming patterns I never knew had names. It doesn't fix everything, but understanding the reasons behind the weight makes it feel slightly less impossible to carry. I leave her office each time drained but clearer, like fog lifting just enough to see a little farther ahead. A few weeks in, something shifts. It's small, almost invisible, but I feel it when I wake up one morning. The panic is still there, but it doesn't hit as hard. There's more space between the thoughts, more room to breathe. I start noticing little things I'd ignored before. The way sunlight feels on my face, the quiet moments when my mind isn't racing, the comfort of knowing someone understands me without judgment. Maya notices too. She doesn't say it directly, but I can tell by the way her shoulders relax around me, the way she smiles a little softer. I still struggle. I still break sometimes. But the difference now is that I'm not hiding every crack. I'm learning to speak, to ask for help, to admit when I'm overwhelmed. Healing isn't clean or fast. It's messy, uneven. But for the first time, I'm walking towards something instead of running from everything. One evening after therapy, I walk home feeling lighter than I have in months. The sky is fading into soft blue, and the cool air fills my lungs with something close to relief. I think about everything I've unpacked, everything I've learned, everything I'm still scared of. Healing isn't a straight line. Dr. Hale reminds me of that often. But tonight, I feel proud of myself. Even if the progress is small, I take out my phone and, for the first time without hesitation, text Maya, "Thank you for everything." Her reply comes quickly. Warm, simple, always. I smile. A real one, not forced or painted on. For the first time in a long time, I feel like maybe I deserve a life that isn't built on perfection. Maybe I deserve to rest. Maybe I deserve to heal. And as I walk, the world feels a little less heavy, a little more like a place I can stay. Morning light fills my room in a way it hasn't in a long time. Soft, warm, gentle instead of heavy. I sit on the edge of my bed, not because I'm struggling to move, but because I'm taking a moment to breathe. A slow, steady breath, the kind that feels earned. I still feel the familiar tug of anxiety under my ribs, but it's quieter now, more like a whisper than a command. I think about how far I've come, the panic attacks, the nights spent hiding in silence, the breakdown that cracked me open. None of it vanished, but I'm learning to hold it differently. I'm learning that healing doesn't erase the pain. It teaches you how to live without letting it control you. I stand, stretch, and catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I don't see someone broken anymore. I see someone trying, someone growing, someone still here. And that feels like enough. Therapy becomes a rhythm. Once a week, same chair, same warm light, same gentle guidance. Dr. Hale asks tougher questions now, ones I used to avoid, but I answer them, not perfectly, not always clearly, but honestly. And that honesty feels like a muscle growing stronger each time I use it. Some days, I leave her office feeling powerful. Others, I leave feeling raw and shaken. But both feel like progress. I'm finally facing the parts of myself I spent years trying to outrun. I tell her about my perfectionism, how it ruled my life like an invisible dictator. She helps me untangle the fear behind it, piece by piece. I'm starting to understand that being perfect was never the goal. It was the mask. And masks, no matter how polished, eventually crack. She reminds me that growth is messy, that healing is nonlinear, and for once, I believe her. Walking across campus feels different now. The world hasn't changed, but I have. I notice things I used to rush past. The sound of footsteps around me, the cold breeze brushing my face, the soft laughter from a group nearby. I let these moments exist without judging them or myself. When Maya calls my name from across the courtyard, I smile before I even turn around. She walks up with that familiar warmth in her eyes. The same warmth that held me together when I broke. We sit together on a bench, talking about nothing and everything. She tells me she's proud of me. I look down, embarrassed, but her words sink deeper than she knows. For the first time, I feel like I'm rebuilding my life. Not perfectly, not quickly, but honestly. And sitting beside her, I realize I'm no longer trying to outrun myself. I'm learning to live with myself. One night on my walk home, I stop in the middle of the sidewalk and look up at the sky, deep blue, sprinkled with a few quiet stars. I realize how long it's been since I paused without fear. The world feels bigger now, not in a way that overwhelms me, but in a way that reminds me there's room to grow. I think about the person I used to be, the one who hid behind achievements, the one who believed perfection was the only path to worth. That version of me was scared, exhausted, lost. I'm still learning how to let him go. But I'm also learning how to be someone new, someone real, someone imperfect. And maybe that's where life actually begins, in the messy spaces I used to avoid. As I stand under the open sky, I feel a small, steady truth settle inside me. I want to keep going. I want to keep living. I end the night sitting on my bed, lights off, Window open. The air is cool, carrying the faint sounds of the world winding down. I think about everything I've survived, everything I've learned, everything I'm still learning. I'm not healed, not fully, maybe not ever in a perfect way. But that no longer scares me. Healing doesn't mean erasing the battle. It means walking forward with the scars, not against them. I close my eyes and breathe, steady and full. I whisper to myself, not a command, not a lie, but a truth I finally earned. I'm allowed to be human. The room stays quiet, peaceful, almost tender. And for the first time in a long time, I feel ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Because perfection didn't save me. Pressure didn't shape me. What saved me was choosing to stay, choosing to speak, choosing to heal, choosing to live.